Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always. What are we exploring today?
Well, this time, we're going to get into some pretty wild stuff. We're talking about creatures that seem to laugh in the face of death. I mean, really push the limits of what we thought was possible when it comes to biology.
Oh, wow. Okay, creatures that are practically immortal. Sounds fascinating.
Exactly. And our guide for this journey is this incredible lecture, originally given in Chinese, but don't worry, we got it translated just for you, our amazing listeners.
Awesome. So, what kind of creatures are we talking about?
All right, so get this. We've got these microscopic marvels called tardigrades. You might know them as water bears. Super tiny, but man, are they tough.
Water bears. I've heard of those, but I don't really know much about them.
Well, get ready to be amazed because these little guys can survive temperatures from near absolute zero to over 151 degrees Celsius.
Well, hold on. Seriously. That's insane. Most organisms can barely handle small temperature changes.
Right. It's totally mind-blowing. And get this, they can even survive in the vacuum of space. It's the only animal we know of that can pull that off.
Vacuum of space. Wow. Okay, color me intrigued. So, how do they do it? What's their secret?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. They have this ability to enter a state called cryptobiosis. It's basically like suspended animation.
So, they kind of hit pause on life.
Pretty much. They expel almost all the water and air from their bodies and basically become like a tiny little rock. Super resilient.
And that makes them resistant to extreme temperatures and pressure. Fascinating.
Yeah. And even radiation. In this cryptobiosis state, all those things barely even affect them.
That's just incredible. So they can stay like that forever.
Well, not forever. There's a catch. They need water to revive and become active again, which, kind of makes sense.
Right, of course. They are called water bears after all. But that brings up an interesting point. We humans can't do that, right? Like, dehydrating ourselves would cause some serious damage, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Our cells and proteins would be completely messed up. We can't just mimic the tardigrades and expect to survive.
No kidding. But I gotta ask, how do they even revive after being in that seemingly lifeless state? I mean, is it really death and then they come back to life?
Now, that's the million-dollar question. Scientists are still scratching their heads over this whole revival process. It really blurs the lines between what we consider life and death, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it makes you wonder if we could ever learn to do something similar, enter a state of cryptobiosis like tardigrades. What if we could sleep through centuries and wake up in the future?
Uh,
Just imagine the possibilities.
right. It's definitely a captivating thought. Could we sleep through a deadly plague or
Yeah.
travel through space for years? It's both exciting and a little bit scary.
I get it. It's definitely a bit of a gamble.
Uh.
And speaking of venturing into the unknown, did you hear about that Israeli lunar lander that crashed on the moon back in 2019?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't there something about tardigrades being on board?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It might have accidentally introduced tardigrades to the lunar surface.
No way. So are there now tardigrades on the moon?
Well, that's the big question.
Hmm.
Did they survive the crash? Could they even survive on the moon? It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder what else these tiny creatures are capable of.
If they can survive on the moon, where else could they thrive? Maybe they're already out there exploring the cosmos.
It's wild to think about. But you know what I find even more fascinating?
What's that?
This whole blurry line between life and death. If a tardigrade can essentially die and come back to life, what does that even mean for us? What does it tell us about the nature of being alive?
It's a huge question, and honestly, I don't know if we'll ever fully have the answer. But by studying these amazing creatures, these seemingly immortal beings,
Hmm.
we're gaining a deeper understanding of life itself, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, just think about the incredible diversity of life on Earth and all the wild adaptations that have evolved over millions, even billions of years. It's awe-inspiring.
It really is. Okay, so we've talked about these tardigrades who have mastered the art of pausing life. But our next guest star takes a whole other approach to near immortality.
Oh, this is the part I've been waiting for. Let's talk about the Planarian flatworm, the master of regeneration. All right, so Planarian flatworms, these guys are pretty cool. Little bigger than tardigrades, maybe a few centimeters long. And get this, they've got these adorable little eye spots.
Cute, right. Although they're not really eyes like we think of them, more like they just sense light and dark.
Right, right. But here's the real kicker. These flatworms are the masters of regeneration.
Oh yeah, their regeneration abilities are off the charts. We're not talking about just a lost tale here. Planarian flatworms can regenerate their entire body from, like, a tiny little fragment. It's wild.
Seriously, the whole body. How is that even possible?
Stem cells, my friend. They're the key. See, unlike our cells, which, they kind of specialize, become skin cells or muscle cells or whatever, planarian stem cells, they can become any cell in the body.
Whoa, so it's like they have this, like, a built-in repair kit. They can just rebuild themselves from scratch.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just big chunks either. I mean, tiny pieces, less than a millimeter, can regenerate into a whole new worm.
That just blows my mind. But okay, surely there's got to be a limit, right?
Yeah.
Can anything kill a planarian flatworm?
Well, they're tough, no doubt, but invincible. Not quite. Squish them, and they're done. Toxins can take them out, too. And get this, their own digestive fluids can be a problem.
Hold on, their own digestive fluids. What do you mean?
Well, they have to be careful not to, digest themselves from the inside out, right?
Hmm.
So when researchers do these regeneration experiments, they starve the flatworms for a while first, empty out the digestive system so it doesn't mess with the regeneration process.
That's both fascinating and kind of creepy. So, okay, we know they can regenerate, but like, how does it actually work? What's going on at the cellular level?
It all comes back to those stem cells. When the flatworm gets cut, these stem cells, they activate. They move to the injury site and start dividing like crazy, transforming into all the different cell types needed to rebuild.
So organized, it's incredible. Like, they have a blueprint for the whole body stored somewhere in those cells. But get this, and this is where it gets really weird. Planarian flatworms, they don't just regenerate their bodies, they seem to transfer memories too.
Yeah, the memory transfer thing, that's where it goes from amazing to just mind-blowing.
So you're telling me if you cut a flatworm that's, say, learned to do a trick, all the new worms will know the trick too.
Yep, that's what research suggests.
Yeah.
There was this experiment, right? They trained flatworms to associate light, which they normally avoid, with food.
Clever. So they trick them into liking something they're usually afraid of.
Exactly. So these flatworms learned to go toward the light to get the food. Then they cut them up. And guess what?
The new worms still went for the light, even though they'd never been trained.
Bingo. It wasn't just instinct. It was a real memory transfer from the original worm.
No way. So how long does this memory last? Forever?
Well, no. It fades after about 2 weeks, kind of like our memories, actually. But here's the kicker. If you retrain the new worms, they learn way faster than worms who never had that original training.
So it's like the memory's not totally gone, just faded, but that original learning experience left some kind of trace.
Right. It's like the memory is somehow encoded, maybe not just in the brain, but somewhere else too.
Whoa, that's deep. But how is that even possible? I mean, we think of memories being in the brain, right?
Right. That's the traditional view.
Okay.
But what if it's not that simple? What if memories are more distributed, encoded in cells and tissues throughout the body?
Okay, I'm following. So, like, maybe memories aren't just stored in the connections between brain cells, but also in, like, the way our genes are regulated?
You got it. And there's this whole field, epigenetics, that's looking into this. How our experiences, our environment, can affect our genes without changing the actual DNA sequence. And it's looking more and more like epigenetics could play a role in memory.
Wow, so maybe we could, like, inherit memories from our ancestors through our genes, or pass on our own experiences to future generations. That's heavy stuff.
It is heavy stuff. I mean, think about it. Could our experiences, good and bad, actually shape the biological legacy we pass down? It really makes you question what it means to be an individual.
Right. Are we just a collection of cells and memories? Or is there something more to it, something that goes beyond our physical bodies?
Big questions, right? And the study of these Planarian flatworms, it's forcing us to confront those questions in a whole new way. I mean, if they can achieve biological immortality, at least in a sense, does that mean we could too?
Whoa, okay, now we're getting into some serious sci-fi territory. But it's fascinating to think about, what if we could regenerate damaged tissues, even whole organs? What if we could transfer memories and experiences? I mean, it's almost like we're talking about stepping into a science fiction movie, but this is real science. This is happening. If planarians can pull this off, this kind of biological immortality, regenerating, maybe even transferring memories, could we do it too?
That's the question, isn't it? And researchers are definitely trying to figure it out. Imagine, right? A future where we can use those pluripotent stem cells, regrow tissues, repair organs, maybe even extend our lives way beyond what we thought was possible.
I can barely even wrap my head around it. It sounds amazing, but like, wouldn't that open up a whole bunch of ethical questions too?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. If we could achieve some form of biological immortality or even just live significantly longer, it changes everything, right? Who gets access to this technology? Does it just make the rich richer, the gap between haves and have-nots even wider?
Exactly. And what about like the meaning of life, the meaning of death? It all gets kind of blurry if we're not limited by our current lifespan.
Huge philosophical questions.
Yes.
And I don't know if we have the answers yet, but the Planarian flatworm, it's showing us that maybe, just maybe, biological immortality is closer than we thought.
It's kind of a mind trip, you know? And it's not just about living longer, it's about what it means to be a person. If we could transfer memories, experiences, would we still be the same us? Would our sense of self even survive?
Right. Like, what makes us unique? Are we just our bodies and our memories? Or is there something more, something that makes each of us, well, us?
I don't know. It's too much for my brain to handle, but it's fascinating to think about, isn't it?
It is. Philosophers have been debating this stuff for centuries, but now science is starting to catch up. These creatures, the tardigrades, the planarians, they're pushing us to rethink what we thought we knew.
Exactly. It's like we're learning about immortality, but we're also learning about life itself, what it means to be alive, the incredible diversity of life on Earth, all the amazing adaptations out there.
And don't forget the resilience of life. I mean, think about it. Tardigrades in space, planarian flatworms passing on memories even after being sliced and diced. It's mind-blowing.
Totally. This whole deep dive has just left me in awe. A little scared, maybe, but mostly just, wow, the idea that biological immortality might actually be within reach, it's incredible. And a little daunting.
Definitely makes you think. But that's the beauty of science, right? Always pushing the boundaries, making us question everything. Who knows what we'll discover next?
Exactly. So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions. The world of science is full of wonders just waiting to be discovered.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to unlock the next big secret. Maybe the secret to immortality itself.
All right, everyone, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with more mind-blowing explorations into the world of science. Until then, stay curious.